So one of the ways that I recommend going through the Rose Glass exhibition is to focus on technique, because the artists in these two rooms use very different approaches to working with glass than we are used to by seeing the work of Chihuly. So I'm just going to highlight a few of these artists and their techniques, but when you come to visit, you can check out the labels. We've spent time focusing on the technique, and you also see photographs in many instances of the artists working. So I'll start with this work by Tudzinski, and Zinsky takes what are called canes of glass, which are long, thin rods, and they would be about 1.5 inches in diameter. And what she does is she stretches them out so thin that they become thread-like, and then she lays down the threads, so here, into a mold. And so here what she's done is laid down red threads, black threads, and white threads, and she's put them into a mold that she takes back and forth to a kiln, heats it up, shapes it, takes it back, adds more threads onto it. And so when you get close to this work, it almost looks like a textile with all the delicate threads laid next to each other. So this is a work by Flora Mason, Joey Kirkpatrick, and they were interested in drawing on glass. And that's actually a very complicated thing, because if you take a glass bubble, a blown glass bubble, and you draw on it, as you blow and continue to heat and shape the bubble, those drawings will distort. So what they figured out is if they drew in wire, they created their drawing in wire and then filled it in with powdered glass, and then laid those designs out on a table, and then rolled hot glass, a hot glass bulb over it, they would adhere these drawings to the glass vessel, and then when they made the vessel larger and shaped it, the drawings wouldn't change size. And so you can see, if you come reasonably close, that these are actually made of wire, and they almost look like stained glass the way they were applied. And also, one of these is called jugglers, and the other is called acrobats. And in the one on the right, the acrobats, you see a figure flipping over the other figure. And the shoes actually have streaks of blue, suggesting they're moving through the air. This is another fascinating artist. His name is Franzik Wisner, and he actually works with cold glass. So he never heats up the glass. And what he does is he takes a solid block of glass and begins to shape it and form it with like diamond sanding technology. And so he's created this beautiful bowl with a little peak in the center without ever heating up the glass. This is a work by Jenny Ruffner, and she is actually trained as a painter. And the way she works with glass is through something called flame working. And she takes a small torch. You may be familiar with these kind of torches because people make jewelry with the kind of small torch. And she takes canes of glass that I mentioned earlier, those long, thin rods that glass comes in, and she shapes them by flame working them with that torch. And then she created this sculpture, and then using her painting technique, she painted all over the sculpture. And on the inside, if you look, it's actually a reproduction of a painting by the artist Henri Matisse. And then if you look at the part of the sculpture to the left, you'll see that there's a reproduction of a Sibyl by Michelangelo from the Sistine Chapel ceiling. So she's showing off her skills in working with glass, but also her real skill in painting by combining these two very different types of painting on this sculpture.